although not quite intentionally, I patterned some of my fictional world glob that I talk about so often off of Kevin Costner films. Um, I mean, I pattern a lot of things, and it's mismatched, and that's why it's not publishable yet because I haven't really worked on the storytelling. I've just got a bunch of things all stuck together. Um, that doesn't make for a novel at all. But anyway, about Kevin Costner, that's with this reflection. Um, I'm going to kind of relate him to some of the Globic things. First thing I did today, or first movie I watched today, was Silverado, and that was the first time I ever saw Kevin Costner. I don't know for sure if that was the first thing he was in. It might have been. 1985 is when he came out. And when I was much younger, I didn't see the whole thing, I don't think, because I didn't watch Westerns regularly, so I probably didn't sit through it. And watching it today, I didn't remember all the details, which isn't surprising. It's 30 years old. But I watched it today and I realized that's why where my element of the Western comes into play. In the second novel, the one that's I haven't even finished writing yet. That's it's the second novel in the Jordan cycle, where Michael Ignatius Smith goes with Kliss, and they're out in the Outlands, which is kind of a Western setting. Western meaning, oh gosh, there's a fly or something here. It's open prairie and stuff, and then that I did while I was playing for this reflection, I just remembered Dance with Wolves. I did watch that all the way through. I think. Well, several times I saw it because it was quote unquote wholesome and realistic. I think that's why my parents brought that into our house when I was younger. But I've seen that a few times all the way through. And if I remember correctly, McDonald's did like collector glasses, Dance with Wolves. It was like big deal or something. But that has kind of a Western backdrop. And that's a Kevin Costner movie. And Dance with Wolves, it helps explain a little bit of why Timber, the dog Timber, is so important to Michael Ignatius when he first arrives there in Glob, because he connects with another creature. He connects with someone, because the dog has personality, just like the wolves did for Lieutenant Dunbar. His name, no, I remember Dunbar. But other movies, after I watched Silverado today, Western setting, and also it's the unlikely buddies. Meaning that there were two brothers, one guy with kind of a history with the bad guy. They were something in the past, and a black guy, which in the 80s, token black guy, the joke, but he was an outsider and didn't fit with the other people in the town, and this was in my head, at least. I don't know if it's kind of like a motif type thing to get unlikely friends. They just band together really quick and together as a team to overthrow the bad guy. That came through. Added to my list last night, I added Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And happens to be a Kevin Costner movie too that really influenced me. And it's the idea of robbing from the rich and giving to the poor, because that's what the rebels do in Georgia. That that idea, it's not as big as a theme, I don't think, but that idea is what drives the rebels. Is robbing from the rich. It's doing justice for the poor, the normal people. Yes, the underclass. It's not really a class movie exactly. Kind of is though, because it talks about the poor and the nobles and stuff. And the idea that there's this, I'll do anything for love. There's that spark, that passion in Robin Hood, the main character, and that comes through. The Postman, just this group of, I'd say rebels, because that's what they're in Georgia as, rebels. Because the Postmen were kind of like illegal group against the one with the legal power. I mean, it's not legal. When Bethlehem was ruling, he ruled. He ran the army by force and stuff. And the Postman was about loyalty and living up for the common good, and it was like, that's a rebel idea. Waterworld got really bad ratings. It lost a lot of money. I read, kind of skimmed an article or two about how it lost money and got bad ratings, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it's bad." I like it. It's a great movie. I really enjoy it. That feeling, okay, because I'm making Michael Ignatius. It's the family beyond blood. It's he's got a brother and a sister, and he's got this kid, and none of them are. They're not really related, but he's making a family. But in Waterworld, we've got one guy against the world. I mean, he's a loner, and that's kind of the idea of something I want to get beyond, because people can't be loners forever. I probably a bad example because I'm going to be a loner for a while, but it's storytelling that I'm looking at creating a really good story, and that's a solitary thing. But in Waterworld, they also, I remember this one scene, is a picture in my head, in that tanker, that it's the Exxon Valdez. It's like, it's not half full of oil. It's getting low, but there's a guy that's down in the oil, and has to measure the depth or whatever. He's down there in it, and that image was stuck in my head and became the scene in Red Knight's Jordan cycle. They're trekking through an underground oil pocket, and it's all pitch black except for they can see these little flashlights and stuff. I mean, that's kind of what I pattern that off of. And see, I've got all these little elements of things, and to become a really good storyteller, I've got to blend them, make them cohesive. I've got to really tie this story up, and it's something I'm going to look into doing. Is tying the story up, and I don't know if some people might say it's not literary, me watching movies and TV shows, but a great writer reads all the time, but I don't. But I do watch TV. It's media. Video is media, and there's more to writing than pen and paper. And I'm not great at the pen on paper thing. My eyes are bad, and my handwriting's horrible, and I'm not that patient to get all the way through writing. So I've got these excuses, but I'm going to overcome those to tell a story, because Glob needs to be told. There are a lot of really great stories in Glob, and I'm gonna tell them. It's taken time, but all this, the last, it's 28 years. 1990. I see as my starting point. It might have been a year before, a year after. I'm not sure. This was in grade school is when I started writing Globby Tales. That's tip of the iceberg. That's all not even foundational yet. It's so, it's nothing. But see, it's not going to be proportional. That's so nothing, but the story is going to be just like, it's going to take me, another year or so, and I'm going to be able to write well. I'm really determined, disciplined now to run my Globby Tales, and I'm not going to let it stop me, knowing that I'm easily frustrated, or I'm going to push through, because this is worth it. I am determined to make it happen, Captain. Determined.